Hi, welcome to Culture Ventures on TBCN. My name is Jessica Vitalo, and I'm here with Mad Theater of Tampa.
I'm Tony Gilkinson. I'm the Artistic Director for Mad Theater of Tampa and the Board President.
I'm Evan Lamba, and I am an actor at Mad Theater.
My name is Chris Cordero, and I am the Chair for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion.
Awesome. And Tony, if you could please take us through maybe how Mad was started, where it all began, and kind of fill in the gaps of what they're all about and how they help Tampa.
The organization has been around since 1999, so we are coming up to the end of our 24th season, and we're excited to get into our 25th season in the fall of this year. We did start back as an organization that was looking to really promote music, acting, and dance as affordable theater on Tampa stages back in 1999. Our very first show was Pippin, the musical. We've done that show a couple times, but a lot of shows since then. Yeah.
And music, acting, and dance. Mad?
M-A-D, yes, that's how you got it. So the M-A-D, that is music, acting, and dance. Good job.
Oh, I just learned this today.
Did you really just learn that?
Just learned this.
So,
wow.
yes.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
And Mad is a nonprofit, correct?
Yeah, so we're a 501c3 nonprofit organization. So all the work that we do is by volunteers. We do have some contractors that we bring in, obviously, but for the board are volunteers, the actors are volunteers, and for the actors, it's the benefit of being on the stage and being able to perform in front of thousands of people. And it's been a great experience for my 10 years with the organization. And all of our performances are at the Straz Center for the Performing Arts Center. So we perform there at the Schimberg Playhouse and once in a while at the Jabe Theater as well.
Excellent. And Evan, you are new to Mad Theater as of this past year. Can you talk about maybe your ideas about what you thought Mad Theater was and how you're doing with Mad Theater now and what your role is in the upcoming production?
So I had heard about Mad Theater from some friends. I knew that it was an incredible theater. I joined, and it was everything that I expected and everything I heard. It was professional, it was welcoming, I felt safe, I felt loved, and it's just been a blast. And right now I'm playing Whizzer and falsettos, and I'm having the time of my life with these lovely people.
Awesome.
To Mad Theater, I've always had a love for theater, like all of us, music, acting, and dance. And I've had my fair share of experiencing different theaters in the community throughout Tampa Bay and Pinellas County, Hillsborough and Pinellas. And I kind of fell into Mad because the people. The people are family, so it's a wonderful opportunity when we connect because of the arts, but then grow our relationship to be really friends. So even hanging out after our rehearsals and after shows, and leaning on each other. I mean that's the beauty of theater, community theater, because we share our stories with patrons and audience members, but we come together and we become our own theater family. And
Tribe.
That's what I found in Mad.
Our tribe.
That's awesome.
That's right.
I myself came to Mad Theater. I moved from up north in 2018, and we knew we were coming down here. So I scoped out and investigated all the local theater groups via social media. And I kept coming up, Mad Theater, Mad Theater, Mad Theater, and I kept seeing the productions they were doing and the quality of the sets and the quality of the pictures from the sets. So you can really tell a lot with some small video snippets. And I said, that's where I got to go when I get here. So I auditioned as a complete newcomer. No one knew me from, the guy next door. And I was very lucky enough to be cast in a production of Man of La Mancha. And then as the director called to offer me the part, I very selfishly said, hey, how do you become a director? Because I really want to direct Assassins, which was slated for the next season. And she laughed and she said, oh, well, we'll get to that. Can you do this show first? So I said, yeah, sure, I would love to do this show. And I have been with Mad ever since, and I love it. I love elevating theater around us and making everyone strive to the best of their abilities, whether it's coming in and doing props or someone who comes in and does sets or acting, or someone who's really great dancer or maybe doesn't feel as comfortable singing, and trying to find something that features them appropriately and making everybody come together is what I really love about Mad.
I have to share the story of Jessica coming in for her first audition, which she mentioned, because we had this, and we were all, I was on the audition panel, and we had this last audition, and had already finished, but she was like, we had to get her in because she had to drive to be here. You were coming from somewhere. I can't remember exactly what. And we were like, you know, is she worth it or whatever? Because we didn't know her at all. And she came in and she, I mean, literally blew us away. And we knew it right then that she was going to be the Aldonza for us for Mano La Mancha. Did not know her from anything. And then she hasn't left, which, you know, but she immediately, like she said, she wanted to be a director. Then she joined the board. And Jessica chairs our people and culture team. So she got very immersed, and following up to that would be same thing with Chris. Got involved and then got really involved with us, right? So
No, and we appreciate it because as newcomers to Mad Theater, it's always, there's anxiety there. There's stress that, you know, am I good enough, and what are they looking for, and all of that, and just the welcoming nature of all of the Mad tribe, right? It's nice to know that it's a safe environment, and you know that our talents are valued. You know, so I think that it's nice to have theaters that welcome new folks, and we're one that really looks to grow our new talent.
yeah.
You don't expect a group of people who are so talented and professional to be as kind and welcoming as they are, but they truly are.
Yeah, and it's wonderful for a community theater. I mean, community theater, the first word is community, right? And it's great for me, you know, I told the story about Jessica, but then seeing Chris in another show or seeing Evan in another show, he's got the smirk on his face, so, but there's a good story about that, but it's great to see them and think, gosh, we really need that talent on our stage. And with community theater, we share a lot, right? We go out and support the other theaters, and we're, you know, on social media, we will check in to say we're proud to be here as Mad Theater to see these amazing performances. And it's great that we were able to get all these people, and every single audition that we have, we see a lot of new actors. And we bring in new actors all the time, so it's not like we have the same people show after show.
Yeah.
It's
really
wonderful in that
important.
aspect.
I think that's really important, especially for people who are new or people who are hesitant to come and join, or even say, hey, I want to work backstage, or they're not, you know, they can send us an email or a message on Facebook or Instagram and say they're interested in being involved and how can I help, or hey, when are auditions coming up? As long as you show up, we'll find something for you to do. You want to show up and give us your free time? That's fine with me. Why don't, can you tell us about our next project that's coming up oh so soon?
So soon. So our next show is called Falsettos, and all of us here between the ferns are involved in one aspect of the show, one or another. And so the show is Falsettos, and if you're not aware of Falsettos itself, it was a show that actually is two shows that were put together. They were two off-Broadway shows. One was in 1980 called March of the Falsettos, and then 10 years later, William Finn, who wrote the show, found inspiration through the devastation of the New York City community with the AIDS crisis. And so he wanted to write a follow-up to March of the Falsettos called Falsetto Land, and that dealt with the characters from the first show as the AIDS crisis impacted them as a family. And so that happened in 1990, and then in 1992 they put both shows together, and it premiered on Broadway as Falsettos, the show we're doing. Back in 2016, they did a revival of the show as well, and so when we had the opportunity to bring Falsettos to the Tampa stage, it hasn't been done in years, except for a touring production that came through after the 2016 revival. So we were excited about that. So I really campaigned so I could be the director of that show, so I am. And for me, I guess I'll tell that story, is that it impacts me really to the core, because in 1993 I was in New York City and I saw Guys and Dolls with the original cast, and we were walking down Times Square and saw a poster for Falsettos. And so I was like, that's interesting, and I saw that Mandy Patinkin had taken over the role of Marvin in the lead. And I love Mandy Patinkin. So we just bought tickets on the spot and went to see it. So I was wrecked from seeing the show. And for you guys, it's a tease. Come see it and you'll see why. But the show stayed with me. A lot of the songs stayed with me. And myself, being an out gay person since I was 19 years old, I found a lot of relatable topics here. And I've seen many of my friends in the early 90s and the late 80s pass away from AIDS. So this show stayed with me over the years, and I always wanted to find an outlet to be able to do it. And I've directed 11 shows with Mad Theater, and it took all these years to get Falsettos to the stage. So I'm excited because these are 3 of the 7 actors involved in the show, and I couldn't have cast better people for all of these roles.
Oh my goodness.
So it's, I encourage everybody to please visit Stratus Center's website, stratuscenter.org, and search for Falsettos. It's February 3rd to the 19th at the Schimberg Playhouse there.
How has it been being so emotionally connected to a show you're doing? How has that been seeing it being performed? Does that unlock things for you? Are there times where you have to kind of not watch or not focus as much?
Good question. It's been a challenge in a lot. Evan and I had these conversations because he's playing a role of Whizzer, as he mentioned earlier, and that role connects with me. You know, again, I was very young. I was 22, 23 at the time that I saw the show. And so for Evan to take on this role, we talked a lot about how much I identified with Whizzer. And so we talked a lot about the role and what the character goes through in the journey. But you know, like I like to do with any actor, is Evan had wide amount of space to just create the character and being in its own. So I had that reservation, obviously, with any of the characters, Trina and Mendel, et cetera, is will they be what I've always thought in my head for 30 years that I've been waiting to do this? And like I said,
That's so hard where you hear it and see it in your head, and then you see them do something, and you're like, do I want to correct? Do I want to just let them go?
Yeah.
What do I want to do?
Yeah.
That's a hard battle.
Yeah, so thanks, and so I just stood back and a lot with, you know, and I wanted you guys to find your characters, and you guys have done such, and it's been a crazy rehearsal period, but it's been great just to watch where the characters began at that first gathering that we did, and then to where they are now. So it's been. What do you think about Whizzer?
Well, playing him has been a dream. Being an outwardly queer man, it is exhilarating to be able to play an outwardly queer man. And in the late 70s, early 90s, to be outwardly queer was scary, you know? And my character is very confident and he's very sure of himself, and I try to carry that with me as much as possible. And it's just been such an amazing ride, and I'm so excited for audiences to be able to maybe connect with Whizzer the same way that you did.
Yeah, great.
And I know everyone says Falsettos deals with so many things. So Chris, can you maybe talk to us a little bit about other aspects of the show that maybe other people could identify with?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So the general theme, and there's so many themes about falsettos, right? So as Tony was talking about, the impact of the AIDS crisis in the late 70s and early 80s throughout the decade. But falsettos is also really funny, and it's a story about family. It's the modern family of that time, right? So it asks questions about what is family, you know, what does family mean to you, and the traditional family is not always everybody's, you know, idea of family. So again, a lot of themes for the show. One of the things that my character Mendel brings to the show, at least I think, is kind of a lightheartedness. There's kind of a groundedness to kind of show what Mendel's idea of what a man is, because I think that that's another theme of the show, is what makes a man, not necessarily by gender, but what are the responsibilities and what are the expectations and all of those things, the social expectations. But for Mendel, it's kind of cutting some lightheartedness and some comedy through some really heavy themes, because life is about laughter. It's about tears. It's about family and just smiles, right? That happiness. But it's also about leaning on each other when things are hard. And that's what this show really is about. It's about how do we come together as maybe a non-traditional family, but how do we get through those hardships together?
Yeah.
So not only are we dealing with a non-traditional LGBTQ plus family, but we're also dealing with a Jewish LGBTQ plus non-traditional family. And I think that's super important. There's such beautiful notes of it all surrounds the bar mitzvah in the second act, and what it means to become a man and what is a man, like you were
Sure.
speaking about. And we've partnered with the JCC. And we have actually, tonight, we have one of their wonderful rabbis coming in to talk to the cast about how the traditions work, how their ceremonies work, and a couple of things that kind of enlightens the cast a little bit that I'm really excited about. And just partnering with the community and really engaging ourselves with, I don't happen to be Jewish, but I'm very excited about learning about all of their faith and what they do. We have another show coming up that we just announced, that is the Tampa community premiere of The Prom. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so The Prom itself, yes. It was on Broadway in 2019. Big musical, fun musical, and
Nominated for 6 Tonys and won the Drama Desk Award for Best Musical.
there you go. Thank you, Jess. Jess is our resident know-it-all when it comes to Broadway. I mean, there's a lot of us,
Theater nerd.
but she really knows.
I prefer theater nerd.
Theater nerd is fine.
No one likes to know it all.
So The Prom is another story for us that we thought, and especially when we announced it, which was on Martin Luther King Day, we talked, about there's the equality and civil rights and everything, and this show actually touches some of that as well. So it starts off about these 4 actors that are in this disastrous musical, and it closes on the premiere night, and then they trying to figure out what to do next, and they hear about a story of a high school out lesbian who was denied the ability to go to her prom. With another girl. And so that kind of got on the news, and it's stories that are true that have happened. And so these 4 decide to travel to Indiana. Ooh,
Yes,
yep,
you're right.
it is. And I was having a moment, and try to help. And so that's where the story gets going. And it's all about, being able to build the prom that everyone can enjoy and everybody feels welcomed in. And that's really the story, and it's a fun show. And we're excited to bring that one on. And again, like we said, it's the Tampa premiere because it just closed not too long ago. The tour went through Tampa, and we get to be the first theater in the Tampa area to bring it to the stage.
We're really excited. Auditions will be in March. And if you could sum up how you feel about community theater and MAD in general in a couple words, how would you do that?
Mad Theater is about sharing stories with our community as local artists. Whether we build sets or we direct or we perform on stage. It's about just a community of artists coming together to share really important and fun stories with our audience members, with our patrons out in the community.
Awesome. Evan, what would you like to add to that?
Well, as we said earlier, all the actors are volunteers, so it is a group of people who truly come together because they love to make art. And all differences aside, it is art, and we're sharing that with the Tampa area or whoever comes to see the show. But I think it is quite literally the definition of community theater.
Being able to look around here, to look around at rehearsal, to look at all of the shows that we've done from Avenue Q and Rent and Next to Normal and all this, and look and see that we really have welcomed a big diversity of people. Ages, oh my God, I can't believe I'm touching myself as the oldest person in this room for this, but I used to be the young one. But we have
another one,
I
Grandma.
know. So, but it's great. We look at shows that we are either that can cast a variety of people, and so we have these great representation that is happening now, and we're really working towards really making sure that our shows do represent the Tampa community. And and having our openly queer people, we have our our heterosexuals and Jewish people and
Culturally
diverse all the way through. It makes me very proud to be a part of this organization. And so it's great, and we're working towards next season and doing the same thing with some great shows that are going to be open to everybody to come out and be with us. Stratacenter.org, and then just search for Falsettos, and you can find it. Or you can visit madtheater.com and find the same information, and it'll take you right there too.
Jessica, you are a new mother. Congratulations.
Oh, thanks. Well, he's 2 now.
Well, he's 2 now.
Yeah.
But the character you play in Falsettos is also a mother, and I know that you've played maternal roles before, Can you talk about how it may be different now?
I have played a lot of maternal roles before. The Baker's Wife and Into the Woods. I've had lots of roles where I've had children or teaching children or, and I've always wanted to be a mother. We've had a lot of fertility struggles. So finally having an actual earthborn child has made it a very different journey for me as far as connection and feeling for the boy who plays Jason, and making sure that I do feel strongly about there's certain scenes where the father, Marvin, is yelling at him or maybe not treating him as nicely, or maybe he's witnessing something I might think he's too young to witness yet, and kind of trying to separate, oh my goodness, you're going too far in your emotions. You need to cut it back and just be normal on stage mother and not you're the mother. But also I think it adds a nice layer of depth of actual understanding of how to feel and you have that protective armor on where you need to be superwoman all the time for this child, because you will lift a burning building and flip a car to save your kid. And I think it adds a really nice aspect that I wasn't thinking it was going to be too impactful of, but it definitely has changed how I perform for sure.
Isn't that the beauty of theater, though, right? That you're playing a mother, but the fact that we all bring our own personal experiences to each of these characters are written on paper, and there's stage directions and actual, words that you need to say or sing in this case, but we bring our own experiences to shape what that character looks like. So each actor is going to play that character very differently, and I think that that's the beauty. And what you, Tony, as our director, has allowed us to do, to really take that character in whatever direction we feel, we can bring that character to kind of bring on stage.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's great to be able to sit back and watch that. Like I said, you guys just create these characters. I was thinking about, Jess, you and I were around when we came back from COVID.
Yes.
So we were dark for almost 2 years. And
That's a long time for a nonprofit to be dark and still come back and have any kind of relevance with
Right. And but our first show back was Toxic Avenger. And so that is based on an 80s B movie, like early 80s, mid 80s B movie and stuff. And so that was a lot of fun for us in a lot of ways. And then we followed that show up with Assassins.
Yeah.
You want to talk about Assassins?
Stephen Sondheim's Assassins, yes. And unfortunately, we had that whole entire show mounted and we were ready to go, and then 2 weeks before we moved into the Schimberg, the pandemic happened, so we shut down production, came back, and
Had to
recast 75% of the show and therefore redo the entire show. But it was a beautiful process. I think we got one of the best casts I've ever seen. I was so happy with it. It introduced us to wonderful people like Chris.
Because Chris wasn't in the original
no,
cast for us,
not at
but
all.
he was what we benefited from in a lot of ways.
And I think that helped us really branch out and find other people that have been helping us with now our social media and our marketing. You can find us on social media on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok now, because we're cool. And yeah, I think that doing shows after the pandemic has really brought more newer people that are really elevating our brand and our product and allowing us to do shows we might not have ever thought we could possibly do.
Sure.
And I think that's super important.
Yeah. And of course, Drowsy, which a show we did just very recently, it was called The Drowsy Chaperone, which is another big Broadway show that we wanted to mount. You got to play the title role in that show as well.
Did, yes.
And it's a character very much like you, a drunk, and
A drunk old lady. Especially a couple people from BroadwayWorld.com that came to review us kept saying, we're not used to Mad Theater doing these big Broadway musicals type things. But Mad is about bringing great community theater to Tampa Bay.
It's true.
It's not about, doing, the craziest show that no one's ever heard of. We're putting our wonderful spin on some of these big blockbuster shows
what we
or
do.
some of these smaller shows.
Yeah.
And that's truly what we excel at. is bringing the magic no matter what, whether it's Man of La Mancha or The Drowsy Chaperone or Guys and Dolls or Assassins.
Or falsettos.
Or falsettos.
Falsettos.
Or the prom that's coming. You know, in whatever show we do, we're going to put our spin on it, and we're going to make sure that it is as fun and as meaningful and to the story, and making sure that we are telling the story of the writer's intent.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that's super important. I say that a lot. Super important. And I think that's what makes us excel and really brings new people.
Yeah.
And it's about the affordability and accessibility of these productions to the community, right? To our audience members that are looking for that type of variety, right? And to take them for at least 2.5 hours out of their real life and enjoy, you know, just some theater. But there's a number of opportunities for students to make it more affordable as well, that
Yeah, we
you
have
can
student
find.
discounts. We have group discounts you can find on our website, madtheater.com. And I'm so excited that we all got to be here today. We want to thank TBCN for having us. And we are Mad Theater of Tampa, madtheater.com. And this is Culture Ventures. Thank you so much for having us, and we hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.